What's good with the YouTube account? It's Perspective. It's your boy, Big Flaco, sliding through, smashing through, as always, with my co-host, Big Senor Rojo. Little bit of energy, man. What's cracking, people? So we got an interesting topic, man. Without further ado, we're going to be talking about Bobby Silent Lopez. And I'm not going to really go into details. I'm going to expand after Rojo reads a little bit about him, and then we're going to discuss past, present, and future of what we see with this individual.
All right, man. This is from actual court document, man. It's People versus Vargas, and we're gonna skip through most of the regular stuff, about the history and this and that. Everybody knows that, and we're gonna go to the point where Mr. Lopez actually paroled in 1990. Man, we'll take it from there. But here we go. Lopez becomes second in command. Lopez was paroled on September 17, 1990, and became second in command to Shelton by December of 1990. Shelton testified that at the NF meetings held in December of 90, that they would discuss who was in communication, who had weapons and drugs, people that needed to be killed, people that had drugs and we wanted perhaps for them to pay rent or a percentage to the organization, things of that nature. Lopez was arrested for parole violation in May of 1991. While in jail, Lopez made Salazar, that'd be Crippled Jerry, the RSD for San Jose. At a meeting at the house of Salazar's mother in June of 91, Rosas, who had been just paroled and was now in charge of security while in prison, believing that he and not Salazar should be running the streets. Salazar told Rojas that Lopez placed him in charge, and that was it. When the defendant was paroled in the spring of 1991, Lopez told Salazar from jail to meet the defendant. In June of 1991, the defendant took over control of the NF in San Jose. Chavez told Trejecki that the defendant was now in charge of the San Jose NF street regiment. At Lopez's direction, Salazar turned over to the defendant the NF bank, which contained between $2,000 and $2,500. So, defendant subsequently spent the money on beer, barbecues, and partying. The defendant made Salazar the head of security, which was the second highest position under the RSD. The defendant was arrested in early July of 1991. When arrested, Salazar took over the streets. In mid-July of 1991, Serna was paroled. Upon Lopez's direction from jail, Serna took over the San Jose regiment from Salazar. Serna testified that Lopez had directed him to take care of business out there and start building up the bank again to rob connections. The murder of Herrera. At an NF meeting in November 17, 1990, attended by, among others, Shelton, Lopez, and Trujecki, the NF decided to kill Herrera, a major dealer. Herrera had been on the hit list. John Blanco, a prominent San Jose drug dealer who was present at the meeting, said that Herrera had told police about his activities. Shelton, who had earlier opposed the killing of Herrera because Herrera was assisting the NF by dealing drugs, volunteered to carry out the murder, explaining that the RSD had to set an example. On November 19th of 1990, 2 days after the meeting before Herrera's murder could be carried out, Villanueva, an NF member who was to participate in Herrera's murder, was arrested. Villanueva, also known as Skip, called from jail, saying that he believed Herrera had told the police about it. On November 20th of 1990, Sheldon met with Lopez to plan Herrera's murder. Lopez was to obtain a gun and Betsy Spencer's Chevette. Shelton, Lopez, and Trujecki discussed the need to kill the witnesses. Trujecki suggested that they dump Herrera's body in the park. Later that day, Shelton, Lopez, and Trujecki met Herrera and asked Herrera to get inside Spencer's Chevette. When Herrera was inside, Trujecki displayed a .38 caliber revolver, got out of the car, pointed the gun at Herrera, and pulled the trigger twice. The gun did not fire. Herrera got out and started to run. Lopez tackled Herrera. Shelton shot Herrera 6 times in the head. Trujecki fired his gun again. After more misfires, the gun went off. Spencer testified that she suspected her Chevette had been involved in Herrera's murder because on Thanksgiving Day, several days after the murder, it was discovered on fire. Spencer testified that Lopez had borrowed the car and had later told her that the car was stolen from him when he parked it at a 7-Eleven store and accidentally left the keys in the ignition. The NF made 2 attempts to kill Robert Job Hassel, a bouncer at JP's bar in San Jose, who was not a member of either the NF or the NR. The first attempt was in the spring of '91, the second was in the fall of that same year. In December of 1990, an NF member reported to Shelton that at Herrera's funeral, Hassel said, "Fuck Lucky Shelton, fuck Lucky. I know that Lucky killed Herrera." Shelton took Hassel's statement to show a disrespect to him as well as the NF. Shelton directed Lopez, his second in command, to have Hassel killed, adding that he wanted all NF members to know that Hassel was to be killed. Shelton said to let Hassel's disrespect to the NF pass, letting it would cause diminution of the NF's power, and people would just not be willing to cooperate with drug transactions on a respectful level. Hassel's murder was further discussed in NF meetings in December of '90 and April of '91. The murder of Valles. Larry Valles was a PCP dealer. At one NF meeting, the NF discussed the need for Valles to kick down drugs to the gang. It was decided Valles needed to be jacked up. Shelton subsequently arranged a meeting with Valles, in which he arrived first. After Valles arrived, Lopez also arrived. Out of Valles' presence, Shelton and Lopez discussed the extortion they were going to make. Valles told Shelton and Lopez that he did not pay rent. Shelton then shot him between the eyes. Anyway, all these stories are getting into the point of why Mr. Lopez is on parole, which we will further elaborate the reason we're talking about this in just a minute. Lopez authorized the murder of Alfonso Wedo Urango because Urango disrespected the NF by not returning 2 handguns which belonged to them. Urango had said he would trade the guns for a gram of PCP. Salazar testified that Urango's offer was an automatic green light. Salazar talked with defendant about Urango's murder. In late June or early July of 1991, NF members, including Salazar, Mendoza, and others, wanted to go to Urango's apartment to kill him. When they arrived, the defendant told Salazar and Mendoza to go to the apartment door, knock on it, and shoot Urango when he opened the door. When Salvador and Mendoza knocked on the door, Urango's girlfriend, who was 8 months pregnant, answered the door. Salvador and Mendoza did not have the guts to kill Urango under those circumstances. No further attempts were made on his life afterwards. Rosas was a member of the NS, Nuestra. On December 31st of 1983, 2 masked men broke into the home of Petra Gonzalez. 83, is that right? That might be a typo. Who was the mother of Rosas' girlfriend, went to Gonzalez's defense. After the Gonzalez robbery, and while Pena was in prison with Chavez, Pena told Chavez that he had robbed Rosas' home, taking drugs.
That's Pantera too.
Yeah.
Pablo Pena, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I should have made that more clear. People might not catch it. Chavez stated that even though Rosas was the victim, Rosas should not have told police because Pena was a member of the NF at that time, and Rosas was not. In late June of '91, after the defendant was paroled, he discussed the Rosas meeting with Salazar. Defendant told Salazar that there was a green light on Rosas because he had snitched on Pablo Pena, aka Panther. However, defendant wanted to get some confirming paperwork first because if he was wrong and Rosas was killed, he in turn would be killed. The defendant told Salazar that the NF was not to hunt down Rosas to kill him, but that if an NF member should run across him, what happens, happens. On the night of Rosas' murder, Chavez received a telephone call from Albert Reveles, and Tim Hernandez. Hernandez told Chavez that he was at home where Rosas was running his mouth about Chavez.
That's for people who want to know who that is. That's Timo.
Tim Hernandez, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Saying Chavez was to be hit by the NF. Hernandez asked Chavez what should be done to Rosas, saying he wanted to kill him. Chavez told Hernandez he did not have the authority to authorize the murder of Rosas because the defendant was in charge. Chavez connected to Salazar, who set up a 3-way telephone call conference with the defendant, approved the murder of Rosas, saying, "Do what you got to do." Hours later, Hernandez called Chavez to report that Rosas has been killed. Goes on to further state about the whole Esparza plot, the plot to kill Chavez, Esteban Guzman, Baca, Apodaca, Sheila Apodaca. It goes on to talk about all these murders, but why we bring this up is, basically, explaining why he got the death penalty for his participation in multiple murders, racketeering. Him and the 2 other gentlemen took it all the way to trial. and they ended up all getting life. One of them has since passed away due to natural causes, so they say. We're not 100% sure. Um, One of them's currently on the main line, and one of them's still back there on East Blocker in the adjustment center,
Yeah,
correct?
Wevel.
Yeah, Wavo hasn't been cut loose yet.
They say his mental capacity from being so long in the shoe and being kind of, they've been kind of separate back then, man. That a lot of them have been suffering mental issues, man. They've been back there for approximately 28 years now, 29 years, bro.
Yeah, they actually let Lopez out. What was it, last year?
Yeah, yeah.
Last
They
year
let
at some time, Bobby Lopez was allowed to come out of the AC, out of East Block, and actually go to the main line. And that's what the point of this story is. Is what's going on with him, Flocker? What do you think, man?
Well, Silent, first and foremost, I mean, I don't know his back end history, but I do know he was an NF member since like the 1980, like around 1980, around that time. Him and Skip kind of had a little upbringing around the same time. I think he was recruited before Skip. And so he was a very influential NF member that was with the business. Everybody from that time era that was recruited late 70s, early 80s were definitely killers, man. And this is like the last, I would say, time era of when the NF was living up to the past reputations like they did in the 70s. This is the same type of cycle of violence and death that you used to see back in the 70s in Bakersfield, Fresno, Salinas, San Juan. Was this during this time era? And this is where everything changed for the NF, I think, man. This big indictment, which it further says that Chente Orojo pled guilty, but it says that he never testified. So I don't know if he was cooperating. I always thought that he was cooperating, from my understanding. Um, but I think this is a big deal with Operation Quiet Storm now. Let's not forget what was going on during Operation Black Widow, and when these guys ended up on death row. They were pretty much excommunicated from the organization. Not really being looked after financially. Wevel was supposed to be the regiment commander, but every time a C would drive up, someone else would have to hold that position on an interim basis. You know what I'm saying? So there was no communication, no authority. They tried to establish crews back then out there in the streets, and every time they tried to establish crews, it would get shut down. Eventually, they started sending people out there without getting the clearance from brass, believe it or not, to support them financially. So, years later, when the feds became a little bit more incommunicado for a while, when they were in ADX, I seen the filters around 2011, 2012. I think I still have those. And at that time, that's when the NF street regiments, they weren't contributing money to a main bank at that time. And what they were doing is they had 3 to 4 man crews out there. No more like one regiment with all kinds of self-factions, because every time that happens, people get indicted. What they had was a paying scale of all the NF list of NF members in every county jail. They had people in Sacramento. They had people in Fresno. They had people in Corcoran, Quinton. Every NF member was to start to be looked after financially. Silent's name was on there, and Wevel's name was on there. For some reason, I didn't see Spankil's name anywhere on that list. I don't know why. I don't have the answer for it. All I know is that he met his demise, rest in peace. But apparently in 2012, they were not recognizing Spankil. So here you have a situation, Rojo, and I'm gonna let you try to elaborate from here. He's been put back out there in the main line, Salinas Valley to be exact. Schuylkill was in his ear, I heard. Where do you see this playing out from here on out?
Man, with them guys being back in AC so long, and from my understanding, during a lot of that time, they were kind of not in communications, you know what I mean, with the overall leadership in Pelican Bay, throughout, from the time that they arrived there to the damn Black Widow indictments, man. It's really hard to say because we don't know 100% factually whether they were or they weren't. All we can go on kind of is rumors and what other people have said, because, man, you never know. There could have been some sort of communication that we just aren't privy to. We don't know. But it seems like they had been requesting to operate a regiment to support themselves, the brothers on death row, for quite some time, and it was never granted full authority.
I used to have his wife, J-Lo. She'd be in contact with Boxer, myself, the homeboy Gonzo. and a couple other people. She would give us rides, literally to meetings, all the way, pick me up, pick up Gonzo, and drive us all the way to Salinas for juntas. And I know that she was struggling financially. She needed some assistance, man. So Silent was offering all those resources of anything he could do to help out any NF member or NF associate out there in the streets. And I know from hearing from her, man, that she was not being looked after financially. And I know her assisting us and feeling part of this was an extension of him. And I know he was hoping to get some type of financial support in return.
Yeah, man. Yeah, what I had heard is that they had at times asked to be in charge of a regiment or whatnot, or for even if they're not in charge on the actual, overseeing of it, for them to reap, the benefits from the work that group was putting in on the streets, and it was never approved. And it was always my feeling, and that's shared amongst many of us, bro, that they were kind of just on their own, so to speak, in death row. So with that in mind, it's like, how do they really come into play as far as like the CAT system, things of that nature? Whereas, him getting out of the death row housing, and by all means, of course, he should be a Cat 3 by now with time and with the ultimate sacrifice, and with never flipping and he made the ultimate sacrifice. He's got the years in. He's never flipped, never turned any kind of bad.
They need to put him in charge.
Is his Cat 3 approved? I would think it would automatically have to be.
Well, see, it depends who you're going with, right? You got to remember the Fed system is not using the CAT system no more. They're using time and grade.
He would have that as well.
He would have the highest ranking, as far as probably higher than anybody else in the system. Right. So if he was to align with the federal branch, right? And this is just discussions. These are all hypotheticals. I mean, this is us thinking outside the box.
Yeah, this is a perspective right here. So don't.
But this would make sense if you have two sides to it, though, bro. Because look, the same guys that were leaving you out to dry are the same ones that are trying to maintain leadership. The guys in the state were at least putting your names on payroll. They were at least trying to look after you financially. You were at least being recognized. That's the catch-22 to the situation. You get what I'm saying? Yep. So either side, whoever maintains it, the same way that the state, Chuco and Conejo and all them kind of ignored the higher command, you know what I'm saying? Corny and all them, is the same way. I wonder where his position is going to be. Because apparently he was on the yard. He was getting a whiff of all the information of what's been going on. And we don't know, like I said, I think he would have fell on file wherever he was at. But now he's in a position to where who else but to be ascended to a leadership position would be him. He would be the prime #1 person to be put into a leadership position. Now, where's he going to align with? Is he going to align with the state's agenda, which he was just on the yard with Conejo, with Chuco, or is he going to align with the feds?
Yeah,
that's the question, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about, we all talk about killers and this and that, right? I mean, the proofs in the pudding of all the alleged charges of everything that he's done. He's put in that work, man. The dude's been putting in work since the 80s, bro. And he was dedicated and committed. Made the ultimate sacrifice, was left and basically excommunicated from the organization. So now he's in a position to where I think the ball's in his court right now. I think a lot of the other people that are on these lines. I mean, we've been talking about in other segments, right? What do we think is going to happen? And in none of those segments did we even bring up Silent, bro. And today we thought about it. Well, what about Silent, man? You know what I'm saying? If ever there was someone like how they put DC in position before to be in charge of the state while they try to work things out in the feds, if there was anybody who could probably get things together for them, it'd have to be Silent.
Yeah, and I'm one of the guilty parties in that, man. I never even, when all this stuff was going down and I was trying to, think about what was going to happen in the state and who was going to be able to step forward and take the reins, so to speak. Until we talked before we started this video, bro, I never even popped into my mind that he should be a key player. But man, it's, like you said, man, with all the work put in and all the sacrifices, etc., why wouldn't he be right there in the forefront of what's going on?
But the thing is what's his position as far as on all the all hostilities too? We don't know. He's stepping out, man. I mean, this is a straight, when you think Familiano to a bone, I think of someone like him. He is he mirrors everything that I thought and learned as a kid. When you think of those that put in work back in the days and made the ultimate sacrifices, I don't think of all these new guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think of people like Silent, Wevel. I mean, all those cats. I mean, they was in there putting in work. They had bodies everywhere, all over San Jose. I mean, I think there was about approximately anywhere from 7 to 11 included in that indictment. But I bet you there's a couple more they don't even know about, bro.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. There's no telling what's, on that individual's mind after being, basically segregated from his people for so long. It's a whole new world, man. When you step, man, just from my experience, stepping from general population going into the whole is a huge transition. Can you imagine sitting on death row and AC for all them years, completely just pushed to the back, and then all of a sudden you come out, and I'm sure he got word of it about the end of hostilities and stuff, man. Everybody knew about it, you know what I mean? But then going from such seclusion and segregation and AC, and then bam, now you're just on a damn main line somewhere. With the prison world is a whole new, it's nothing like it was when you went in there. Everything's changed vastly. Two sides are going at it, and you kind of missed all that stuff being back there.
I mean, look at the things that Rocky dudes over two cuetes. The dude over two cuetes. Let's whack him. You know what I mean? Them dudes weren't playing, man. And like you say, it's that old mindset, man. So, I mean, he's older now, but I mean, someone's going to have to give him this situation, man. So for no other reason, we felt we would discuss a little bit about Silent, a little bit about his past case, how he was on death row for approximately, he was on death row for 23 years on death row. And that's not including all the time when he was in Santa Clara County and they had him all in the dungeons.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. I mean, me and you have been privy to a lot of the goings on, and we could search the internet freely and this and that, man. But I'm just trying to put myself in that frame of mind where I'm basically locked away and forgot about, and then just coming straight out and all this falling upon me. You would think, man, I don't even know, bro. I don't even know.
That's the question. That's the question. I think money talks too, though. You know what I mean? Like, all I know is that them brothers felt a certain way, bro, that when they were locked back there in AC, they felt like they'd just been used up. No one's communicating. No one's looking after them. They're not even recognized. I mean, Level was technically supposed to be the RC for the GOP, but every time anybody drove up, they had no communication with nobody. So they'd have to C would have to hold that position on an interim basis, bro. You get what I'm saying? So now he's out there. You think he's going to forget all those years being back there, not being looked after financially?
Yeah. Hey, I remember being on the 6 yard, and somebody mentioned it. One of the C's mentioned, well, what about the homies over there? Referring to those three. And I remember Lobo saying, fuck them guys. Like,
who?
Lobo. Cesar Ramirez, Lobo.
But you know what, though, too? What people ain't realizing, right, is his backtrack record and the sacrifices he made gives him like the ultimate respect as far as within that criminal lifestyle. He's not someone that's just talking about it. You can look at him and respect that everything he did, he sacrificed and did it himself. Not like these new wave fucking C's nowadays, man, who never put in no work. They get busted on some possession charge. Next thing you know, because they're about to get out, they're recruiting them. You know what I'm saying? For monetary purposes. He's more old school. He's going to bring back the old school tactics to where, you're going to have to bring a body when you come into the O. You're not just coming in, going to fill up, take up empty spaces and not doing anything. You're going to bring a body.
Right. Yeah, times have changed, man. And that individual, when he stepped out, where's he at? Salinas Valley, correct?
Salinas Valley. Well, I heard Chuka was personally in his ear a lot, bro. You know what I'm saying? So apparently, if he was out there with Chuka and didn't make no move or nothing, I mean, of course, Chuka had a 9-man detail team on him, but Chuka was close to Silent as well, bro. Because I remember being locked up with Chuka in '96 and him talking about he was trying to get down there with the brothers down there, talking about Silent and them. You know what I'm saying? So they're all from Soho too. Right. So there's that mutual respect of doing time. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, where is Silent's mindset? That's the question. And when this quiet storm came about, man, I forgot that he was even out there on the main line.
Right.
And that kind of changes the dynamics. What is he going to do now? Because I think a lot of people, I don't know where his mind state is, but he's always been a leader. You know what I'm saying? If you search his name, you'll see that he's always filing appeals against the courts when he was on death row, always making sacrifices, doing everything that he was supposed to do as a guerrero, as opposed to other people who just became stagnated and complacent with their situation. Nah, he's a fighter. So you better bet your ass that he's not going to give up at all. He's going to push his agenda now. Now that he's out there in the main line, I think Sundown brought it up before, and we didn't really get a chance to elaborate on it. I think this is the changing point. I think this is when either they get it together, they fix it how they want to fix it, or it falls apart.
Yeah, it's really hard to say, man. But the one thing that I could pretty much say is that individual definitely gonna have some sort of input on the direction that the state heads now. There's no way he can. I don't think he would allow himself to be denied that. You know,
Yeah.
I think he knows he's earned a huge voice, and I think he's gonna make his voice heard, bro.
He may align with the feds. You know what I'm saying? He may, you know what I mean? He's going to go with what he feels is right.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to say, man. But the reason we chose to touch on this one, man, is because, you know, all these discussions we've had recently ever since this Operation Quiet Storm broke, nobody's really mentioned, you know, there's been a lot of speculation about who's going to take the reins in the state, and, you know, are Chuco and those guys still in charge of the state, and, you know, all these sort of founded unknowns, all these unknowns.
Uncharted territory
Nobody's
right now.
mentioned his name until now. You know what I mean? And, you know, Flacco hit me with this earlier before when we were trying to decide what to talk about today. That's a very damn good, you know, thought about this individual stepping forward and becoming a key player in the direction that the state decides to take now, whether it's going to continue to go the way it has been, or whether.
But the O has evolved, bro. The organization has evolved, and I don't know if that's going to help him or hurt him or hinder his chances. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, because you have a new wave of players, man. I mean, what he was doing back in 1992, you know, is totally different than 2021.
Right. Yeah. Oh, so
you get what I'm saying?
Vastly,
I mean,
bro. It
when
changed,
you
man, ever since Black Widow, everything changed. That was the main changing point right there, where everything just went haywire, basically.
He's from an era where you didn't politic. There was prison politics, but you just fell in file.
Right.
If you read this report, right, they changed because they didn't play around. They changed RSD position like 5 times in just that article. You know what I'm saying? They're old school to where, you know what? Let's handle it. Let's not talk about it. Forget the politic and bickering back and forth. Whack to do. You know what I'm saying? Straight up.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Like until more stuff like Discovery and stuff starts popping out, and who's doing what, and, you know, it's only a matter of time before things are leaked where people start to get a better understanding of what's going on in the state since the departure of those gentlemen last month. That you know, we'll have a better idea here shortly. I mean, you could expect some kind of breaking more news at any given time with this thing, because me and Flacco and other people I know, that's not all the people that are going to be arrested. You know what I mean? So things could be temporary inside of what's going on in the state, because more people could get up, and there's going to be more things on the streets. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You know?
Yeah. I mean, quiet as it's kept, we're waiting for corroboration on some information that we have, but we're not going to relinquish nothing till we can assure it's facts for you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? So we're always obtaining more information about what's going on with this quiet storm indictment, man. But right now, man, it's just one step at a time right now. You know what I mean? Just see how everything unfolds, man. And, you know, we've had different discussions. Like I was listening last night, people said, you know, this could be a time there for a lot of raza to break away from all the BS and say, look, we don't want to be part of all your issues, man. You deal with your own issues. Let us deal with our own issues. We'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a interesting next couple of months, or until until there's some sort of leak prior to the paperwork, which inevitably there will be, you know. But hey, don't count on not seeing you know, this death row brother being right there in some form of fashion. You know, good, bad, or ugly, he's gonna be there, and see what transpires, man. It's crazy, bro. I can't even imagine.
I'll tell you like this, bro. I'm gonna think outside the box right now. Me, I'm saying if I was in his shoes, I would have so much hostility towards a lot of people, man. I would come with a wrath of vengeance, man, and I would be trying to get things to how I think they are supposed to be. After that many years of being kind of ostracized, not ostracized, but excommunicated, you're gonna feel a certain way, bro. I don't know. I'd be pissed off, bro. If someone, I mean, personally, you know what I mean? Come out there, oh yeah, it's all good. What's up, now you're out here now. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, where the fuck you guys
Like,
been for
you feel
29
like
years?
that happened.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Where the fuck you guys been?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did you get that money order I sent you 10 years ago? Come on now. It took you
Yeah,
that long?
yeah,
You
that
know what I
40
mean?
bucks. Yeah. I get it, man. Yeah, but hey, when we talk about stand up, true savage warriors in the history of the NF, this, you know, this guy's name is not mentioned nowhere near enough at all, in my opinion.
It's like this. It's like this, right? If there was more dudes like him, you know what I mean? I'd probably still be active. You know what I'm saying? If everybody just program and function to a T, you know what I'm saying? Like individuals like this, a lot of us would probably still be in the mix.
No doubt. All right, YouTube, man. That's just a little bit about why Mr. Lopez was on death row. I'm sure a lot of you already knew, man, but we just wanted to reiterate the fact that the man's made a lot of sacrifices. He made the ultimate sacrifice and got the ultimate consequence for the sacrifices he had made. And we just wanted to bring it to attention that that's a name not to forget moving forward. Shout out to Mr. Lopez. Shout out to YouTube. Have a good day. It's your boy Rojo, Big Flacco. And we'll holler at y'all later, man. Have a good Monday.